Who's seen the Tao of Steve? Raise your hand. No one? Shut up. All right, we got a couple people seen the Tao of Steve.
You might want to introduce yourself for real.
I'm not Steve.
A perfect integration of Tao and Steve.
I'm Greg Shatan. I'm the president of the New York chapter of the Internet Society. And Jonathan is on the board of the Internet Society New York chapter and also Brooklyn Legal Hacker par extraordinaire. So we thought we'd talk a little bit about the two organizations, what they can do for each other, what commonalities, differences. We have a nice banner here. It also tells you how to join the Internet Society. Anyone can join, but you don't know what it is yet, so why would you do that? But hopefully you'll know in a few minutes. And so I'll sit here and have a large blue light shine on my face.
So I want to say, I've been a member of the Internet Society for probably 20 years at this point. Legal Hackers has only existed, where's the gang? What, 8 years? 7 years? 2012, seven years. The Internet Society always felt like my sort of policy home since I found out about the Internet Society when I was probably living in DC at the time. Legal Hackers has become my home in recent years. And it always sort of intrigued me, the possibility of a merger between the two, at least more collaboration between the two. The only time I've ever really seen the collaboration is in the form of Jolie here, who is essentially ubiquitous both in ISOC and Legal Hackers and has bridged the communities very well. But we've never really worked together on policy initiatives or other activities. And I want to, if I can ask you the first question, what is ISOC? What does it do? What's its mission?
ISOC, which is short for the Internet Society and should not be confused for iSOCs, which are these socks right here with the Internet Society logo. Was founded by essentially the inventors of the internet. Vint Cerf, Bob Kahn, other people who initially decided, that it could be cool if two computers could be joined together and talk to each other, which, happened not so long ago. And after they went off and did that, they thought, well, that has no conscience. Shouldn't the internet have a conscience? And basically the Internet Society is the conscience of the internet. It exists to support the idea of a global, interoperable, open to everyone, permissionless, hopefully trustworthy, secure internet. The idea that the internet is for everyone is that's the elevator pitch. And if you think about it, an internet was probably inevitable. The internet as we have it today, a network of networks that is essentially not more than a handshake in many ways between all these different network operators and nodes that somehow underlies everything that we've been talking about in this room all day. That was not inevitable, but kind of the way it got its start and the way it kept going as something that's rooted in kind of certain set of principles is what the Internet Society supports, and then it does that in some very concrete ways as well, because it's not just a philosophy. Okay, so in concrete ways, what does it do? I've been, for varying times in my connections with the Internet Society, we've tried to get involved in all sorts of different issues, policy issues, some technical issues, etc. What is your sense of what the Internet Society does, has done, and could do? Because that will inform it, to some extent, what goes on with Legal Hackers and what goes on with other folks in this room and how you can actually succeed as a global organization. Sure. So the Internet Society is both global and local. There is the Internet Society, which is a global non-governmental organization which is headquartered in the United States, has its legal personality in Virginia, I believe. But in any case, that is a global organization. Then there are a series of independent chapters, which are kind of members of ISOC, but also have their own independent identity and sometimes have their own priorities that may be part of the ISOC priorities, may even be different. So ISOC New York is a 501c3 New York corporation that was founded in 1997. So it's older than ICANN, it's older than that dog probably, and, not older than me, but ISOC Global was founded in 1992, but both of them kind of exist to have priorities both globally and locally. So the big Internet Society is a reasonably well-funded professional organization, and ISOC New York is a unreasonably unfunded organization of volunteers and people who believe that the internet needs to be, both secured and protected and coddled and also let off the leash. And so our priorities in New York are to really several, both a priority both globally and locally is community networking, trying to get more people literally connected to the internet. And that could be both in a refugee camp or it could be in Harlem. It could be in Brooklyn. There's actually NYC Mesh, which many of you may have heard of. Community network is kind of an activity that we sponsor and kind of provide an umbrella for. And we also deal with other sorts of connectivity type issues, but also deal with issues about security on the Internet of Things, secure routing, and the making of internet policy, and the idea that policy should be bottom-up and multi-stakeholder and driven by the end user.
All right, so I don't know if that's true. All right, I'm very active with the New York chapter of the Internet Society, and to me, it's a bunch of very virtuous, hippie, techie do-gooders. All right, a lot of that's how I sort of feel when I'm in the ISOC New York community.
I would not disagree with that as kind of the expression of the current expression. Or
that's not what I feel when I am participating in Internet Society Global. All right, what I feel there, and this is where I think the disconnect is, and this is where I think those of us in the blockchain space, computational law space, legal hacker space could learn from what I think are the differences between local ISOC and global ISOC. Globally, ISOC, to a large extent, seems paralyzed in its ability to participate in policy discussions. That may be a controversial statement. I think a lot of the ISOC Global folks might challenge me on that, but I've never really seen ISOC Global get too involved in any policy issue that's politically charged or controversial. I feel like it's pretty easy. What?
Wicked.
Wicked. So Jolie, tell us about the Wicket. This may be the exception proving the rule, but we'll see.
One thing to keep in mind, ICANN is ISOC is what it can be called an I-STAR organization. It is a kind of a global organization that deals with other internet governance organizations, and this is an internet governance controversy. The
Wicket, Benny, remind me, is he here? Remind me what it's the World Conference on International Communication.
Information technology.
And so it's the ITU thing that they have every 20 years. It was the Wicket in 98 that in 88 that was the thing where they took down the rules which said that only government-approved people could lay cables between countries, which is what made the international internet happen. So there was one in now 2014, I think, where there's been this continuous struggle with the ITU to sort of take over the running of the internet and make it a top-down thing. And in fact, allied with McDowell, who was a Republican on the FCC, who first made the noise about it, the Internet Society led a movement which actually put a stop to this, worldwide, where they got the Americans on board, we've got a bunch of other countries on board, and managed to stop the motions going through that would have made that happen. But I will say that we have a very strong policy team. We have a strong policy team in Europe. We work on like in Australia right now, there was they brought in the backdoor law. We campaigned hard to try and stop that law. In India, right now they're bringing in similar kind of laws. We have our regional bureau in there is campaigning against those laws. There's we're working at very high levels at the OECD and other levels to try and change regulation on spectrum to enable community networks. There's all kinds of policy activity going on globally on the Internet Society. So I take issue with what you say.
And so I think that it may have less to do in the U.S. perhaps.
Which I also was a correction, which was, Greg didn't mention. He talked about chapters. But he didn't mention that we also have special interest groups, and this includes a blockchain special interest group, and in fact money flows from the Internet Society to the chapters and to the special interest groups through a thing called Beyond the Net. And in fact, we've just separated now, so there's a foundation which finances, you can get up to like $30,000 for a project, which in fact is what launched NYC Mesh in New York, was an Internet Society grant. There is nothing to stop you guys banding together and to make a law special interest group in the Internet Society applying for money to support what you do.
So a computational law SIG could well be a, and that would be kind of non-geographical if you want it to be, and it could intersect with the geographical organizations like ISOC, New York. So I think Jolie did set us straight there.
Well, so I think Jolie may well be right. I still feel like what the Internet Society for me has been a great community to have these discussions. So they have the blockchain SIG, they have all sorts of special interest groups that talk about very specialized issues, and it's a great internal discussion. I haven't seen too much of the fruits of actual policy advocacy from ISOC, and it may in fact exist. It may just not be on the issues that we've tried to get ISOC engaged in things like net neutrality, and we've been essentially stifled on those sorts of issues. Now, I'm mostly trying to flag this as a sort of as a background learning tool for the rest of us.
Neutrality. The thing is that globally, we've tried to keep the internet as an open, independent thing that's free of regulation as much as possible. So supporting regulation at one level domestically in America would screw us worldwide, because all these other countries would say, okay, well, you're for it there, so we're going to clamp down on it. So that's basically, we've got the wider view.
So when we first started Legal Hackers, our first ever legal hackathon was essentially a talkathon. It was all a bunch of lawyers, no technologists in the room, trying to figure out how we could do things, but not having the technical expertise to actually get things done. After our first hackathon, which I think was successful, we tried to branch out and figure out how we tap into the internet community, the tech community. This is how we actually tapped into folks like Daza. We thought, where is there a world-class technology university that doesn't have a law school of its own that could be our tech partner on a lot of our legal hack issues? Yes, so Daza got heavily involved and helped us build the global legal hackers community and build in some tech chops to it. I feel like Internet Society is another vehicle for us as primarily lawyers. It looked like the predominant, most of us were in fact lawyers, another community for us to tap in, not just to tech universities, but also into the global internet community through ISOC. So I thought when Legal Hackers we're now at 140 chapters around the world. How many chapters does ISOC have?
It's over 100. I'm not sure the exact number. About the same.
Oh, is it? I figured you had a lot more than us. But to the extent we have overlapping footprints and overlapping chapters, I feel like we should always be doing things in sync with ISOC.
I think it's good sense. I mean, ISOC, each chapter is grassroots where it is. They have different priorities. Outside the United States, the chapters are largely nationally based, although, especially where you have, so there's an ISOC Quebec as well as an ISOC Canada, so we deal with those things. But essentially, that's why there aren't more chapters, because out in the US, we have chapters in different cities, but outside, largely, there's one or two chapters in a country, and until there's a second chapter, the first chapter essentially represents the country.
So maybe my initial premise was wrong. It was that ISOC was emasculated and can't participate in global policy formation as an advocacy vehicle. I always had this concern that legal hackers might be similarly curbed from pursuing courageous policy initiatives, and should that be something we do? So here we're all talking about blockchain. We all probably come from different perspectives on the extent to which blockchain should or should not be regulated. It sounds like most of us are more blockchain libertarian than blockchain overseers, I guess. That might be a fair.
Well, in that sense, there is a commonality, as Jolie was mentioning. The idea is to be non-regulated, permissionless, and to find ways to work together, kind of across or ignoring borders, and without engaging kind of the power of the state. Because the problem with the power of the state is, depending on the state, you may not like the power that it exercises. So I think in that way it's similar. And internet governance generally deals with the issues very much of how do you regulate or govern or keep hands off of something that essentially is everywhere and nowhere.
All right, I think we got to wind down. I should say, to some extent, I think a lot of us were probably internet utopians for many, many years. I think in recent years, some of us may have been woken up by the potential dark side of the web. I suspect the Internet Society is heavily involved in some of those issues. I suspect that many in the legal hackers community are also. I think, how much does it cost to join the New York chapter of the Internet Society?
Absolutely nothing.
So it's free. So is there any reason why someone shouldn't just sign up for the Internet Society?
Absolutely not.
All right.
So the way you join the Internet Society, and I'll take away the voice of God here, right there, internetsociety.org. I'll leave some materials on the back table where the pizza grease is. And basically you go to internetsociety.org, you sign up, and then you can choose to join a chapter or more than one chapter or a special interest group. So I'd recommend everyone here should at least join the New York chapter and the blockchain SIG.
SIG.
And then look at other things there that might interest you, and get involved. The Internet Society New York chapter is basically what we make of it. It is not, it can support many things, it can contain multitudes, it can move in different directions, it can take advantage of the support of the global Internet Society in many different ways. And I think that it's really only limited by our own inventiveness and our own blood, sweat, and tears.
And for those of you who are not members of the New York chapter of Legal Hackers, that is also, as I recall, free?
Absolutely free.
Yeah. All right, so worth joining too. They're both good, to the extent the Internet Society works with the UN and ICANN and other NGOs and government groups, it's a great way to meet government officials, world government leaders, and to educate them on the issues of importance to us also.
Absolutely.
All right, Raina, any parting words? Who remembers the 3 laws of the Tao of Steve? Be excellent. Be, what's the second one? Be excellent. The last one is be excellent, be something, be gone.
And when you say the Tao of Steve, do you mean the Distributed Autonomous Organization of Steve?
I mean the movie.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember the second one? Be excellent. Be excellent. It's about it's a way to pick up women. You're supposed to be excellent in her presence. You're supposed to be something else, and then you're supposed to be gone, absent, so that you...
I think the 4 beings on this couch are not...
With that, I'm just trying to say we shall be gone now.
Yes, here we go.
Yay!
That was good. Thank you. So we've got a program announcement. Because we're a little bit behind, Steve Nam has kindly agreed to